Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the free-to-play cast brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I am your host, maybe, blah, 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 Mike Byrne, a.k.a. magicman, and this is episode 276. We're recording on September 20th, 2018, and you're watching it on the 21st or later. We've got rumors, we've got first looks, and we've got loot boxes. And here to talk about all of that fun stuff with me, first up, Mr. Jason Winter. How are you, sir?
I'm not doing too bad, although I gotta say, it's a good thing we are where we are, because if our locations were switched, I think Troy would just blend into my wall back here.
He may. Also on the line, Mr. Troy Blackburn. What's up?
I'm being bullied. I'm not going to tolerate this no more. It's 2018. I don't have to put up with this.
Speaking of bullied, YouTube is still after you for that Bless video.
I know.
And they're also throwing around the idea of a punishment for its tardiness.
I accept the repercussions of the internet.
That may be that you will be the one doing a Bless Unleashed free-to-play first look, or should the game go free-to-play like we've speculated before Bless Unleashed, that you will actually do the Bless Online first look.
Now you go too far.
That is a line you cannot cross.
Oh, man.
All right, let's slide over and get started with the news. All right, so first up today, let's talk about some City of Heroes rumors and Wildstar rumors and
Let it die. Let it die.
Healers with No, I felt like we should talk about this a little bit because we had mentioned a few weeks ago when the Wildstar announcements came, and a little bit before that, we were talking about Nerd Slayer's video and some comments on there that were made by people alleging themselves to be developers or employees of Carbine Studio during various portions of Wildstar's development, and they put out some pretty nasty stories about the environment that they worked in. But then we also saw comments about City of Heroes and it being shut down, and maybe the developers there, before it got shut down, weren't playing fair with NCSoft's money, was some of the accusations being made. And we talked, Jason, at that time that we were reaching out to a number of people, and we're not going to get into specifics on who, out of respect, they've asked to be anonymous, but we really wanted to see how much of that stuff, whether it was the City of Heroes stuff, the Wildstar stuff, the NCSoft stuff, whatever it was, how much of it could we actually corroborate or validate in some way besides, here's some people that are staying anonymous and just, you know, they're saying what they're saying, anonymous sources. And it's okay for us, you know, we do recognize that sometimes there's going to be a need to use anonymous sources. That doesn't negate our responsibility covering this, though, Jason, to do our due diligence and make sure the anonymous source is who they claim to be. And so that's what we were trying to do. It didn't pan out. We couldn't get the type of validation that we would have felt comfortable running with some information. But then we saw other sites start to pop up the information anyway. And we really kind of struggled with, you know, do we even say anything about this? We know we had mentioned it on a cast. We were trying our damnedest to get some info. And we kind of landed on, we kind of had to say something for MMOBomb fans. Mm-hmm. So, Jason, we kind of summed it up in a post this week, so take us through it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and it kind of reemerged when, like, Kotaku's original article about the Wildstar shutdown, somebody commented on that, a guy who went by the name XChua, great Wildstar name there.
Well, they're all going to be XChuas in a little bit.
But someone on there called XChua posted kind of similar to what the original comment that we had seen on the YouTube video, to the point that I kind of thought that they might be the same person. Now, this person, XChua, said, what did he say? Basically, he said that City of Heroes 2 was supposed to be in development, that NCSoft wanted that to happen, and that they actually gave the money for it, gave Paragon Studios money to make it, but then they made their own thing. And to quote that XChua said, he said this speaking as a City of Heroes developer, he said, "Wait, no, let's not do that. Let's make some other shit nobody wants and tell the publisher, and presumably not tell the publisher, and presumably they'll be completely understanding of it because we'll show them a completely different prototype than what they asked for."
Now, to be fair, this user also, I think, claimed that, hey, this was just rumor around there. They weren't intimately, personally involved in this. This was just rumor around that whole project. Because somebody else chimed in that claimed to be a little closer to the City of Heroes side of things than the Wildstar side of things and said, whoa, this is total bullshit. That did not happen. We weren't working on some mystery game and just running around with NCSoft's money, so it got really messy. Troy, I gotta tell you this, it's a really cool story. I mean, it's a really cool story. But there just wasn't enough there for us to run with it. We couldn't get the corroboration or the validation that we felt comfortable with. So I think we made the right call. But damn, isn't it fun to think that the City of Heroes team was just like running around with NCSoft's money doing whatever the hell they wanted? Yeah, we'll work on COH2, no problem.
Well, there's a reason rumors like that run around inside of offices, no matter how closely or how far they are from the game they're talking about. Just like the rumors are now running around the internet. People love to talk about that kind of stuff and hear the juicy details of what might have happened. And, if this developer did something wrong to NCSoft, maybe NCSoft wasn't the bad guy. Ooh, plot twist. So, it's no wonder people like talking about that stuff. It's fun.
Here's the thing, I don't know what to believe, because both stories are just fantastic. They're just awesome, great stories. But, okay, so do you want to believe, who was it? It was Paradox, right? Paradox Interactive? Paragon. Apologies to Paradox, who is still very much doing their
Crusader
thing.
Kings, yeah.
Right. Very much doing their thing. So Paragon, it's really fun to think that maybe these dudes and girls and whatever just were like, yeah, we'll work on City of Heroes too. No, guys, what do we really want to do? Let's do that instead. But all right, I think the big red flag for me there, if I want to believe that, Jason, is that at some point with all the negative publicity, I think it behooves NCSoft to just come out and say, dudes, we closed the place because they robbed us. I
could see. Well, you're saying if this was true, that's what they would do.
Right. If it were true, I just don't see a reason that NCSoft doesn't say, no, we're closing the studio because the game, while it makes a little bit of money and it's fine supporting itself, we don't feel comfortable working with a developer anymore due to some contractual items that have occurred. I mean, they don't have to go into details or anything like that, but I would have expected some type of statement.
You would have thought that they would have made some statement between then and now, because like you said, they've been so beat up that seeing this story now, you could look back and say, oh.
Right?
But there was, like you said, there was no real statement like that from them.
Yeah, I mean, my thought is I go with the kind of middle ground, because someone says, in response to the guy making all the accusations, is that where was it? Stating that Paragon pitched City of Heroes 2, but NCSoft didn't seem interested, wanting something with more lineage level griefing, as the guy puts it. So I could see that. My thought is that maybe they did try to pitch something, or NCSoft did tell Paragon work on this. Paragon was like, we don't really want to. We don't think that will work over here. And maybe some of the debate got a little far, one way or another. And maybe then NCSoft said, okay, you're not going to make what we want you to, go away or whatever like that.
Right.
I could see it maybe on that level. So there was some creative difference between the two companies, even if it wasn't, actual stealing money or whatever. And I could see that sort of thing. You might not want to actually, as NCSoft, you don't want to say that we dumped these guys because they didn't do what we told them to. They didn't bow down to their Korean overlords. So, I mean, I could see not having a real statement.
Loot boxes.
No, this was 2011. Loot boxes weren't really a thing back then. It's griefing and unbalanced PvP, sure. Pay to win.
Oh, my God. I don't know. I can see it going either way. I just find it really bizarre to think that somebody was like, yeah, totally. Give us a few mil. We'll make COH too. We ain't making it. We're making what we want to make. Give us some money. Yeah,
just turn off the speakerphone before you say that. Damn it! Don't still be on the call.
And you know what? Maybe the person posting is totally telling the truth. That was like the rumor around the office. Maybe it's actually what happened. I wish we would know for sure, Troy. But I think at this point, there is no way we're ever gonna know for sure what happened with City of Heroes. And I think here's why I kind of bring this up. One, it's fun to kind of speculate on. full disclaimer, if you haven't gathered that by the way we're talking about this, we have no idea which story is true, if any of them, nor are we asserting that any of them are, in fact, 100% correct. So, yeah, don't sue me. But I keep seeing more and more NCSoft, well, look at what they did to City of Heroes, and now they're doing it to Wildstar. I don't even see them remotely in the same bucket, Troy. Not even close.
It's not. I mean, everything you ever read was that City of Heroes. It wasn't making like, quadzillions of dollars or nothing, but it was like financially at least supporting itself and making a little bit of a profit. It just wasn't enough of a profit. And Wildstar, I mean, this is the game, like the City of Heroes shutdown, in all fairness, did kind of come a little bit out of nowhere.
Yeah, it did. Well, and so did Carbine. So did Carbine. They were like, hey, effective today.
Yeah, I mean, that one came all of a sudden, but at the same time,
it wasn't unexpected.
I don't think it was today.
It wasn't unexpected
at
all. I mean, that was like the prediction for MMO analysts for since it came out was, well, this is the year Wildstar shuts down. This is the year Wildstar shuts down. And finally, we're just like, okay, I guess we're going to stop predicting that now because it's boring now, and it just seemed to go on forever. I mean, yeah, the announcement, like you said, the announcement kind of hit. It's like, oh, by the way, it's coming, not a year from now, like sometime pretty soon. But at the same time, it's really not unexpected.
Jason, I actually give NCSoft a little more credit on the Wildstar thing. Like, it almost seems to me like they did not want to be perceived as pulling another City of Heroes. And so Wildstar maybe got to, and this is just speculation on my part, based on nothing, but maybe Wildstar got a little bit of an extended life where it probably didn't warrant it financially. I think the funniest thing, though, that I saw is today, both on Facebook and on Twitter, because I follow Wildstar on both, because I'm awesome. Shut up. I like Wildstar. There just wasn't enough of us that liked it.
I have an extra Twitter account I use to follow all the free-to-play games I don't give a crap about, but yeah.
There's a limited time event running in Wildstar right now where you can summon world bosses easier than you previously could. And I couldn't resist asking two questions. Well, one question and one statement, Jason. My first question was, there's somebody around that still has the passwords to the Facebook and Twitter account? Because I thought that team was gone already. And my statement was, well, yeah, of course it's a limited time, because in a little bit you won't be able to summon them ever again. Like, I couldn't help but be snarky, but yeah. Oof. Speaking of other, like, weird things that we posted and kind of explored, Jason, you did another one of your history pieces. I love these pieces, and if you haven't read them, you got to check them out. They take a little longer to put together, so they're spaced out, but they're very, very interesting. And if you've ever wondered why your healer is running around with a cudgel or a club or a mace and not a shiny sword, there might be some basis for that historically. Maybe, kinda, could be, maybe not so much. Let's blame Gary Gygax, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, again, I won't go too far into detail on the article. It's called Battling Bishops and Crushing Clerics.
Can you angle your camera down a little bit? I think you sunk.
Oh, oops, okay.
There you go.
I didn't have my camera window up there. Okay. But yeah, basically, and you're right, it did take a while to go through this one, because I actually consulted with actual people who, like, are study medieval history and so forth.
Like, talk to people who know shit.
Yeah. Granted, one guy is a guy I've known on the internet for like 25 years, so he was easy to get in touch with, and he referred me to someone else. But yeah, people who have actually like written books on medieval history. So yeah, basically, I think both of you, I would imagine that a lot of people, especially gamers, have probably heard of the notion that there's some sort of edict or something was made in the Middle Ages about clerics being disallowed from using edged weapons, Yeah,
the rumor thingy I always heard was they weren't allowed to draw blood, as in like pierce or puncture draw blood. Hitting somebody in the face with a tree was totally fine, but the act of piercing and drawing blood, right?
Yeah, and I did find several indications of apparently clerics in battle, medieval priests and bishops and so on, actually when they actually were in war, using blunt weapons fairly often. So I thought, okay, maybe there was something to this. If you read the article, you will find there is an edict. There was an actual edict about priests not drawing blood, but not quite in the way that you'd think of. So you'll get to see that in there. But in general, it comes around that there's really no there was no really firm and set laws, so they can't use a sword, for instance. But as you mentioned, it's probably Gary Gygax's fault because
Everything comes back to D&D. It
everything
always
comes
does.
back to D&D, yeah. And again, one of my sources actually found found a comment by someone who said he actually played in one of the very early like pre D&D games with Gygax when he basically explained why he did this, and he apparently made the rule against clerics using edged weapons based on his belief in that same thing, in that supposed edict that they can't use swords in battle. So it's really interesting how the history kind of affected the gaming, which kind of changed all our interpretations of history as it comes along. So
Pretty wild. So go check it out. Go check it out. Troy, did you get a chance to read that one?
I did. I absolutely loved that article, Jason, by the way. That's probably my favorite one that you've done so far. It's maybe just a little bit macist. Huh?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're moving on. On that note,
I'm gonna club him if I.
let's slide over to something that all of us as free-to-play game consumers have been getting our heads clubbed in over, and that's loot boxes.
Woo, loot boxes.
Yeah, loot boxes. So it's not... The heat is not being taken off on these. So we obviously had the stuff with Belgium and their gambling commission saying, yeah, we think they're gambling. And while that really, didn't mean a whole lot legally, besides, hey, some of you, we're going to ask that you remove these games because we're classifying them as gambling. It
might be illegal if EA decides they don't want to do it.
Right. So here's the thing. While that really didn't set a legal precedent or a definition of loot boxes as gambling, a gambling authority did say, yeah, it's gambling. Take them out. And most companies, although they feigned the biggest surprise in the world, Troy, including our friends at Blizz, who... The three of us on this panel have quite a few friends that work there. The official statement was like, we are shocked and we disagree and whatever. Most just sucked it up. EA has decided they're not gonna. They're not gonna, particularly when it comes to FIFA. We're gonna leave them in and we'll see you in court. And I think this sets up something really, really interesting, Troy. And EA, I think, is taking a huge risk here. Because at some point, violating that statute by the gambling authority will end up, presumably, in a Belgium court of law. At which point, you will be asking a court, is it gambling? And if it is, I understand, like, United States courts aren't going to use Belgium courts and, Australian courts and everything to set their own legal precedents. But you got to think that that's really going to hurt if you get a court of law anywhere to rule against you and officially declare loot boxes gambling. And EA has decided we're going to take the shot, see what happens.
Yeah, because like you said, the United States, they're not going to use like Belgium as a precedent, but there's already like Washington State already looking to make its own laws against loot boxes and gambling and video games like that. So they can look at that and use that as sort of a rallying flag of if the Belgian courts win and the government gets what they want, the control that they think that they deserve and the protection for their consumers, that's a nice rallying cry for other places, even in the United States, that are already looking into it to say, okay, here we go. They got it taken care of. They got it done. They're looking to protect their consumers. It's time for us to take the next step forward in the way that we need to do it.
And they're not the only ones as far as countries now involved. You mentioned Washington State. We had Hawaii a few months back where we were doing that stuff, and some bills were proposed. And then we have Finland entering into the discussion here, and Australia entering into the discussion here, all with their own communications and gambling committees, all of these different things. 15 gambling regulators in Europe, and one from the United States was the total count. And they're the ones that kind of teamed up to take a look at the risk here. Now, to be fair, what they were looking at, Jason, was predominantly like those skins betting, gambling, roulette sites. But they didn't take loot boxes off the table either.
Right. As you said, their main focus was the CSGO stuff. But they also said that regulators, if there is going to be regulation, the regulators said the game providers must, quote, ensure that features within games such as loot boxes do not constitute gambling under national laws.
Right.
So they're basically saying that you need to make sure that your loot boxes are not gambling. Otherwise, we're going to regulate it like we regulate, the casinos and so on and so forth. Which again is probably going to eventually, if it comes to that point, lead to all these nations and so on being the same thing as Belgium, where basically, hey, we think it's gambling, you're going to have to prove to us that it's not.
Prediction sure to go wrong time. Troy, one, does EA actually end up in a Belgium court over this, or does this get settled well before that stage? And if you believe they end up in court, two, does Belgium find in favor of the Gambling Commission or in favor of EA?
I believe because it's EA and because of the game it is, and because of the amount of money that game is bringing in those loot boxes and those microtransactions, I think EA actually absolutely does stick to their guns. I think this does end up in a court. Oh my God, I'm going to make a prediction that I don't want to make. I think EA.
You think EA is going to win, don't you?
A way to get around it. I do. They've got a lot. They've got a lot, billions of dollars on the line here. So they've got money to throw into this.
I'm sure they'd rather challenge it in Belgium first than in the United States, Jason. That's why I kind of think this line was drawn now.
That's what I could see. I could see, like, even if they lose, they could say, okay, what did we do wrong? Next time when a real country comes after us, let's modify our strategy to make it a little better. So,
by the way, that was EA fictionally referring to Belgium as not a real place.
Yes, not me. My apologies to all my Belgians. Look, guys, I love your waffles.
Oh God, you two are just on point today. So, Jason, one, does it end up in a court for you? And if it does, who wins?
I think it does, and I think EA loses. But again, as mentioned, I think they will use that as a springboard for other places.
I'm going to go with it doesn't end up in court.
We're all different here. As
much as I would love to see it go there and hope for the outcome that I like, but whatever, I think this gets right up to like the day before the court hearing type deal, before some type of modification to the gambling classification and the functionality of the loot boxes. I think it just comes shy of actually hitting court. If it did go to court, I am worried about the monetary influence of EA that, Troy, you spoke to. That there's a lot of money to pass around to make sure that they win this one. So
yeah, but short of actually like bribing judges, all you can do is keep going up there and saying,
right? Yeah, you're right. That's impossible. Yeah. They couldn't possibly do that.
Yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. We kind of know the arguments already without any money. We know what they are. So it's like.
I mean, and we're primarily talking about a World Cup game. There's definitely kind of backdoor deals going on at all.
No.
FIFA corrupt? No.
It'll be interesting to watch, that's for sure. So there's some wildly different predictions for you. You feel free to put yours in the comments. We'll probably all be wrong, but we'll definitely be watching it. Before we leave the topic of loot boxes, though, Jason, I wanted to give you a minute to answer the question, what the fuck is going on with Lord of the Rings Online?
So let's see, when was it? About 2 months ago, or 2 or 3 months ago, I think. They put some loot boxes on like a test server, some new kind of loot boxes, which
we blasted them when they did that.
Yep. Let's see, what did it say here? I'm looking at my old thing. Players are reporting on the forums that high-end best-in-slot gear is coming up as drops in loot boxes on the test server. So basically, the best gear that you can get in the game was coming in loot boxes on the test server. So I don't actually know for sure if this went live, but in any case, more recently, over the past couple weeks, they said, just in case, we're going to not do this. We're not going to make it exclusively in loot boxes. If there is best in slot stuff, it'll be earnable in game as well. Don't worry. And there should be no gear in loot. This is the direct quote. There should be no gear in loot boxes you don't have a chance to acquire by playing the game, and gear that comes from a new raid at the highest difficulty or the equivalent raid completion gated vendor will always have more power than comparable gear that comes directly from loot boxes. So I guess they're saying that the best gear will be in game, somewhat lesser gear maybe in loot boxes. Going back to the fact that several years ago they said, or Turbine technically said, First of all, they had an interview that said we'll never put gear in loot boxes, but they forgot that.
Right.
That's what they said.
And had no comment when we asked them.
Yeah, and then said, well, we'll never put we'll never put raid gear in loot boxes. Never.
And
absolutely not.
Here we are.
So.
But hey, if you were really worried about, the new Lord of the Rings MMO that's supposed to be out in a few years here, that we just know is in development, and you didn't want to trust just the Lotro team to tell you everything's fine, you did get a little bit more reassurance, I guess, from Middle-earth Enterprises, the company that owns all of that stuff, where they said, hey, we're totally cool with 2 titles. We think that's fine. They can exist. They can compete. Great. No problem. If you're a Lotro fan, you don't have anything to worry about. Troy, if you're a Lotro fan, do you have anything to worry about?
Ask Star Wars Galaxies fans if you have anything to worry about.
Oh, boy. All right, before we slide over and do the weekly bombs here, we did post a bunch of first looks over the last couple of weeks. We had to ex-nay them from the last show because we were just running way over. So I brought 2 back that I want to talk about. Jason, you did one. Troy, you did one. We just get to skip mine, I guess. That's fine. Mine was, I did what? Okay, whatever. Go watch them. Magic Arena, which, by the way, is going into open beta in just a few days. Still some keys on MMOBomb, I believe, if you want some of those. We got a refreshing stock of new keys for you. And then I also did, what was it? The Skyforge Battle Royale. Go get a Magic.
We talked about that already.
Yeah, go get a Magic the Gathering beta key and go play that. Just skip Skyforge Battle Royale. Troy, let's start with you. Dead Frontier 2. The sequel to what was generally a well-received Dead Frontier, and so far, generally a well-received Dead Frontier 2 as far as reviews go, even if it's a little slim in early access.
Yeah, it's probably one of the truest early access games that I've probably reviewed in a while. In that it's still early development. They are putting out updates, but they're small updates, but they're consistent. Looking back over the history of the game, matter of fact, over the weekend that I played, there was an update that came out in the middle of that with just bug fixes and a few tweaks and things like that. So it is slim right now. It's a zombie survival game. You can PvP, but if you choose to, you can PvE. It's small server numbers, up to 8 players on a server. You can make your own private server if you want to and just play with your friends or jump in with random people. A little bit procedurally generated when it comes to the world and the buildings you're exploring and some of the monsters you have to fight. Like I said in my review, you should check it out. It's definitely early access, but if you're looking for something that's not just an automatic kill box survival game like the DayZs in the world, this is something that you might want to at least keep an eye on, even if you don't want to download and play something that's as early on in the development process as this is right now.
So what's the point of a round? Like, what's the goal here? 8 players in, what happens?
You're basically just exploring the world, and you can walk it. It's tagged as an MMO. I called it more of an MMO light because it's only like 8 players per server, and there's not a big persistent world for you to exist in. But there is like an auction house function where you can buy and sell items if you don't get what you need whenever you're searching around. But you can pick up quests and go explore the world and turn in these quests for XP and level up. And as you level up, you're going to acquire skill points to improve your character. As a matter of fact, the first time you log in the game, you can't even sprint, but you've got a skill point to spend that if you want to go ahead and put that in sprint now so you can run from monsters, please do that. You're going to need to run from some monsters. Go ahead and pick up that sprint. So it's got RPG mechanics. It's got some light MMO mechanics. You're going to get to play with other people.
So this isn't
leveling.
like a 15-minute play, right? This isn't like you sit down for 10 minutes, have a battle royale match type thing, and then you go on to the next one. There's a bit more sit down and have a session with this.
Yeah, it's a bit more explore the world, actually survive in the world, and get yourself geared up and leveled up enough to go to the next area. And the monsters are going to get a little harder. I actually saw some different abilities when I went to the next zone from the starter zone. They started doing different things. Some of the zombies would start puking on me, where before they would just come up and swipe you, and then you would start seeing radioactive monsters, and you have to have radioactive resistance in order to not get infected by that.
That's how you know a game's getting good, when shit starts puking on you.
That's right.
All right, let me ask you this then, because it is a bit of an odd duck. If you didn't play Dead Frontier 2, this might sound a little ethereal or ambiguous as far as what you do. So fill in the blank here, Troy.
Mm-hmm.
If you liked blank, you should try Dead Frontier 2.
Oh man, if you liked something like Ark on a private server without take away the building aspect. If you like something like Ark on a private server where you and your friends are out exploring the world, surviving, gathering up the things you need to survive, and going out and seeing what's out in the world, and you're a zombie fan, you're gonna like a game like this. Like I said, it doesn't have the building aspect of that, but just getting on with your friends and surviving and gathering materials and just exploring and going out and seeing what's out there, you're going to enjoy something like this.
Awesome. You personally, thumbs up, thumbs down? To me, this was, by the way, mine was just kind of in the middle here. This is something that I would play casually, like super casually. Jason, Troy, and Mike go make a night of it and then probably not play it for a month. That's where it sits on my shelf.
I played with a friend. We both gave it a thumbs up that night with the caveat of it's a thumbs up in the state that it's in. It's obvious it's super early access, that there's got to be more to come if it's going to have legs for anybody to play long term. But knowing the state it was in going into it, it ran phenomenally. I mean, these early access games usually run like crap, especially survival games. This game ran great.
Nice.
Very few bugs, like game-breaking bugs. We didn't run into anything game-breaking. Only like in the hours that we played, only a couple of zombies would like walk through walls or something crazy like that. The game ran great. So for the state that it's in, we both gave it a thumbs up.
Nice. Jason and I kind of looked at this when I was watching it and said, this isn't Jason's cup of tea.
I mean,
but you did like H1Z1 initially, so maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and especially because we didn't really see anything in your video, I think, about like the quest system or the RPG elements to that. What was that like? Was it just like go kill 10 zombies or something like that, get XP?
It was a lot of the quests right now are pretty simple. They're go pick up a quest and you need to go to like this apartment complex and explore and either find this person alive or find this heirloom that I lost and return it back to me.
See, I feel like there's a room, and I think there are some games that are actually kind of trying to do this between the total chaos, no rules, whatever DayZ, but also your full-on MMORPG with a strict quest and leveling and so forth. So you got a lot of the freedom of a DayZ type game with a little bit of structure, enough to give you kind of a feeling to get around. I feel like Fallout 76 looks like it's going to kind of be in that same mode. There's some other game I just saw something about a couple days ago. I think it feels like the same thing.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's the sort of thing I could see that maybe I could get into a little bit. Seeing the rough state that it's in with the UI and everything, and maybe I'd like it to come along a little more, but I wouldn't totally crap on this game. Like, all these, pay some slight attention to it and see how it turns out.
And we got more first looks coming from Troy. We got the culling going back to its origins. We've got Tencent's new Battle Royale. Get to the chopper. So
I saw someone streaming that last night. That shit was kind of
look
neat.
forward to that. Jason, you did one. I think the recap here is going to be a bit shorter here because we've already done Battlerite. We've done the Battlerite first look. I think I did that one, or did you? I don't remember.
I think it was you.
It was me. But you did, now that it's on its own, we made it its own first look, the Battlerite Royale. How'd it go?
Definitely you did the last one, because I'd never played Battlerite in any form before this.
Gotcha.
I played like 20 minutes of Bloodline Champions like 8 years ago when it first came out, and that's my extent in that whole tree of games.
Isometric type MOBA.
Yeah, that kind of the top-down view and so on and so forth. And I didn't really care for it, so I was like, okay, Battle Royale, whatever. I'll go in, I'll suck, whatever. I actually did a few matches before I did the stream and before I did the recording. I did okay in one of them, got killed kind of early in the others. Again, I don't play Battlerite, so I'll assume that in general it works the same way, and that you have about 4 or 5 different abilities.
Yep.
Kind of like a MOBA and so on. In this, you start off with just your one basic fire ability, your left click. You can also buy one more in the pre-match thing. You'll have enough gold to afford one more ability. And the rest of them you'll have to kind of find as you go along, or you'll go to I think there's a merchant in-game you can use to buy some things too if you have the gold for it. You'll upgrade your abilities as they go on, so they do more damage again in kind of a MOBA sort of style. But it's just, like I said, Battle Royale. You go around, you loot some stuff, kill other people, and so on and so forth. And I actually did kind of enjoy it. I thought it was actually...
wow.
I thought it was pretty tight, pretty...
stunned.
Pretty easy to get into. I tried a couple different characters, one melee guy, one range guy. Definitely did better on the range guy. You see that in the video. I actually killed people, came in like third, I think, in the match. And that's one thing that I think is pretty interesting about it, that it is pretty small, only about 20 people, I think, in a match. And it only took like 10 minutes maybe for my long run. The shorter ones, of course, where I die early, it's like 3 or 4 minutes. So I like that it's got a very jump in and just play a little bit and go around kind of feel to it.
Is this a thumbs up for you then?
Yeah, I'd say it's a thumbs up. I'll give it
Wow.
that, definitely.
Nice. For me, this one I was just meh about Battlerite, and I'm even less meh about Battle Royale, so this one totally misses the mark for me personally. Troy?
The only reason I haven't played this yet is just because I haven't had time to. This is on my list of things that I'm definitely going to get to at some point.
Nice. Let's slide over and do the weekly bombs. On a note here, we don't have a question of the week for, or answers for last week. We're just going to be going through viewer feedback and the bombs here because nobody cared about CCP being bought, and what that meant for Eve. I rephrase. There was at least one person that said, "Oh, I didn't know CCP was actually owned by other companies already, so I actually I'm okay with them being bought by this other company then because they weren't, they weren't their own company before." So there we go. Misfit says, "Hello, Misfit Rain
Did
here."
we do our bombs?
Great.
Did we do
Oh,
our
yeah.
bombs?
Right. Yeah. Sorry. I scrolled down a little too far. I'll go first. I'm going to give an A-bomb to Neverwinter overhauling crafting. And while I'm not disputing that crafting could use a little bit of an overhaul in Neverwinter, there's about 10 to 15 other things that need an overhaul before the crafting system of Neverwinter. Stop it. Jason.
I actually remember, I think the first time I ever played a game with Troy was when we did Neverwinter together when it was in like open beta.
It was, sir.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was.
All right. I'm giving an A-bomb to Lord of the Rings Online, Standing Stone Games, Turbine, whoever, for their selective memory when it comes to end-game gear and selling it. I think they're taking that one bit with Gandalf a little too literally. I have no memory of this.
Troy.
I'm going to go with the A-bomb hat trick. Finish it out with another negative. A-bomb to Realm Royale. I don't even know what the fuck is going on
Took
with
the
them
classes
anymore.
out.
Like, this isn't even the game that they like. I get it. You're like in alpha, beta, whatever, and you're going to try some things. This is not even the game that you needed to do something to set yourself apart from all the other ones.
This is why
And
I
now you've taken
hate
all of
doing
these, stripped
first
it all
looks
back.
for high-res products. Because if you go look at the Paladin's first look, which I did in like alpha, as soon as we could get it to you and we got our hands on it, we got you the first look. 3 weeks later, the game didn't look anything fucking like that anymore. And Realm Royale has just done the same thing. Like, we wait as long as we can now on high res without being so far behind that you don't care about the first look anymore. Ugh. Now from the viewers.
I actually did contact them, and I've got a response, but I'm just waiting to work it into an article. So.
All right.
So
Misfit says, "Hello, Misfit Rain here. I say that like I'm important. Love the show. Keep up the amazing work. Thank you kindly."
I think I think Misfit's very important.
I think so too.
I like
Giving
like
an
him or her
A-bomb
already.
for the announcement of the new Lord of the Rings MMO for 2 reasons. First, because I want it. And second, because I think it will help the current Lotro to get players. I've already re-downloaded Lotro to see the stories again, and the ones I never saw, since the highest level I ever made was like 37. You got a long way to go.
The game is still good at that
A
point.
lot of stories to go through. The new game is predating the current, so I'm sure you can get some lore for the new one. Question, though. Do you think if the new Lord of the Rings is a blessed disaster, will it help or hurt the current Lord of the Rings online? You think people wanting that Lord of the Rings void filled will go back or to Lotro to fulfill their need, or will they just give up on a Lord of the Rings MMO game entirely? Jason, I'm going to let you answer that briefly.
If it is just horrible, like a bunch of people get it and then abandon it within a couple months, I think that might be good for Lord of the Rings Online. I think they would. I think that would get people going. Oh yeah, man, I love being in the Shire or Gondor or whatever. I like to see what's that like in the other game now. Plus, just like with Guild Wars 2 did with Bless going badly, you better believe there are going to be Reddit threads of people like, "Hey, tired of that new Lord of the Rings game? Why don't you come over and try the original? It's so much better now."
Jason!
Phil with 2 L's. But the PH, so it's PH, not Phil, like Phil a thing anyway. To be honest, is that where I am? Yeah. To be honest, I love playing Wildstar. Yet the population is low. Why don't they close all the servers and just merge them into one server? At least you keep the game alive and players happy. Well, because that still even costs money.
Well, wait,
so.
isn't there? To my knowledge, I think there's only 2 servers now. They did exactly that. They made the mega servers for. I could be wrong. It's been a long time. Correct me in the comments, but I'm pretty sure there's one in North America, one in Europe, and that's it. Go ahead, Troy.
There's one player in North America.
Oh, stop. Everybody had Wildstar feedback, by the way. Go ahead.
Speaking of one player, Lawbreaker shut down last week.
Yep.
Elusive X Treasure, dub bomb to the possibility of another Kingdoms of Amalur game. I know, no confirmation, and not anytime soon, even if there is one. Honestly, though, I'd love to see an MMORPG come to fruition. I'd be elated to even see a second single-player game. On a side note, possible ramble/rant incoming, you have been warned. I think the term generic fantasy setting gets thrown around way too much. Frankly, compared to the only truly similar games, as in open world, create your own character RPGs, I felt both Oblivion and Skyrim were far more generic feeling, at least atmosphere-wise. Reckoning felt a bit more fantastical and derived inspiration from Celtic folklore, more so than the whole Tolkien-esque setting, which, by the way, is the epitome of generic fantasy setting, is it not? I mean, how do you define that anyway? The elf, dwarf, human thing? Well, Rift has that going on, but it also has magic technology, extra dimensional travel, and a comet. Is it swords and magic? Star Wars has those. Maybe that term should be shelved right along with WoW clone. P.S. The first thing I thought when I heard about Space Lords was indeed Space Lord Mother drumming on desk.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. Bad news for you. You probably aren't going to see an MMO on that. The buyers came out and said, we bought it for the intellectual property. So maybe a single-player thing in that world at some point. Don't hold your breath for Copernicus or anything like that. Fran Bunny FF12 says, Wildstar had the best raid content, bar none, and the best combat. There will never be a game that ever has that level of content ever again. Wildstar ruined MMOs for me. Nothing holds up anymore because of how good Wildstar's content was. And there's a certain portion of the audience that's absolutely true for. Jason.
Lunar Templar says, A-bomb to everyone that even remotely thinks Wildstar shutting down is even remotely the same as City of Heroes shutting down. We addressed that earlier. City of Heroes had literally just announced and was gearing up to release new content when NCSoft pulled the plug. It was a complete blindside to the devs and the community on the whole, whereas Wildstar should have shut down way sooner than this.
Echoing our thoughts.
Yeah. Also, A-bomb to NCSoft are still existing in the West at all in any form. May they shut the doors on their Western offices soon and crawl back to Korea. It's the only market they care about anyway. Sighed, a still angry former City of Heroes player. Didn't they just announce some lineage thing? Just the other, I saw that go through my Twitter a couple hours ago.
Lots of lineage stuff. There always is. Go ahead, Troy.
Lineage makes money, so... no pause button. Well, my gaming instincts were pretty on point concerning Wildstar. So glad I never put any real time in that game. Sad to see it go, as... think it could have had a real place in the MMO market, and they handled things better, and kept development active instead of abandoning aspects of the game that I think had real potential, like PvP. Hope sometime down the line someone else picks it up, as there were many things Wildstar did have going for it, like the combat, art style, player housing, and the overall universe. So many man hours put into building this game from the ground up, it would be such a shame to see it completely disappear. Which, unfortunately, is going to be what happens. It's just gone.
Maybe someone will start an Indiegogo to revive it.
The petition. There's
a petition. There is.
Yeah.
Red
sure.
3 Tango says, A-bomb to Jason. Ooh, for mentioning Tabula Rasa and reopening a very old and sore wound. After playing EQ2 since launch, played Tabula Rasa for 10 minutes and immediately subscribed, only to have it taken away a few months later. I have boycotted NCSoft since. Way to go, Jason.
Hey, you want to talk old wounds? Again, I'm not sure if it was this or Final Fantasy XI, but the first time I ever played an MMO at all was a little bit of auto assault that I got at E3 in 2004. So don't tell me about games NCSoft has shut down. My first MMO, they shut down. Maybe first, might have been second. But still.
Go ahead, sir.
I don't know if it's supposed to be Sol as in the sun or SOL as in luck, but
Shit out of
that's
luck.
the person here. Yeah. A-bomb to any company that didn't buy out City of Heroes from NCSoft.
Oh man, you're giving companies an A-bomb there. NCSoft wasn't selling.
Technically, that's every company then.
Right, everybody but NCSoft.
None of them bought it, so.
Go ahead, Troy.
Marko Zivkovic. Carbine was making a new game, so people were actually doing something, just not working on Wildstar.
I seem to remember that too, and I didn't until I saw Marco's comment there that they were working on something else. Not anymore.
Maybe they were working on City of Heroes too. That's where all the rumors come together.
That's where they were supposed to be working on, but they
right.
They built Wildstar instead.
They're working on Wildstar too.
Right.
There you go.
Branko Jovanovic says that's a lot of Ovics in a row there.
Yeah.
Wildstar is a great game. They should have aimed a bit lower with the ambition for the game and made it free to play from the start. With an earlier polished launch and incremental content updates over a larger period of time to have people coming back. Edit, I've rarely seen a commercial ad for Wildstar on any kind of gaming website. Guess they did not invest much in marketing. Here's what's funny. They over-invested in marketing. Way over-invested.
I remember those videos, yeah.
But it was all prior to launch, and then it just like mysteriously disappeared after the game came out. There was very little marketing, so yeah, it wasn't. You're right there.
But yeah, 3 or 4 years later, with a failing game, they're not going to invest a ton into marketing.
Well, no, I mean like right after launch, it was gone.
Really? Okay, I don't remember that time frame.
So. No question of the week answers for last week. CCP will be fine, apparently. All you EVE players aren't worried at all.
Or it'll be terrible and nobody cares.
But what I do want to know is your prediction sure to go wrong. You know ours. Will EA actually end up in court in Belgium over this? And if they do, who's going to win? Will loot boxes be declared gambling if it got to that state? Let us know in the comments below. While you're down there, make sure you leave your weekly bomb, A-bomb for something bad, dub-bomb for something good, your comments, your questions for the panel. And until next week, Troy, where can everybody find you, sir?
You can find me in the comments of this video on YouTube. Apologizing for not having a blessed video out yet. Feel free to go down and give me crap.
Jason.
Find me on Twitter at WinterInformal. Stream at twitch.tv/Jason Winter, and probably in the YouTube comments getting mad at Troy for
I'll be in the YouTube comments stoking the fires of hate against Troy Blackburn. I'll be Mike Byrne, aka magicman. You can follow me on Twitter right there. More importantly, while you're there, follow at MMOBomb to get tweets to all of Jason's historical, awesome articles, first looks, and more that we put out. Until next time, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.